Hero77 here, and welcome to a brand new YouTube channel. This is but her. I was playing tennis with games. This is the owner, Daniel.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the very first show. This is the Jeremy Orr Show. Now I have changed my name in order to sound a little bit more professional. You all may have come to know and love me as Hero77. I am the same person that you have all come to know and love, but I am doing this in a more professional format. As you can see, I've got my desk here. And the desk is a little short. I wish I could have been able to raise it up. But with that being said, today's show, we will be talking about shrinkflation. Now, the other night on Shifty Sunday, we did cover it, and there were quite a few examples. I'm going to condense these down so that they don't take as long. We will be talking about football team names and the sad passing of James Earl Jones. And also, the debate. It's tonight. And this may be one of the most, if not the most, important debate that you will ever watch in your lifetime. First off, let's get started. Well, you know what? Actually, before we get started, let's talk about let's talk about, and I really hate doing this, but why don't you go ahead and give this channel a like if you like what you're seeing here. If you've already subbed to the channel, then welcome and thank you for being here. Thanks for giving me a chance. This is a new thing for me. I am a little bit nervous, and actually this is the third time that I've tried doing this. Before I had the tripod way up and it was way too tall and I could barely get my head in, but now everything seems to be a lot better. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones was an actor. He was a heck of an actor, and I liked him in a lot of movies. Of course, what he is most famous for is a lot of his voice work. You know, when I think of James Earl Jones, I think of Star Wars. I think of Darth Vader. And I think about The Simpsons, because I think about the one scene that they had in The Simpsons where I think it was Bleeding Gums Murphy had died, and James Earl Jones did the voice, not of Bleeding Gums, but he did the voice of some of his past characters that had actually died in movies. Do we have a clip of that? Can we show a Simpsons clip? Let's just show a clip of that real quick. Watch.
An old jazz man happy, Lisa.
You must avenge my death, Kimba. Simba. Luke, I am your father. This is CNN.
Will you guys pipe down? I'm saying goodbye to Lisa.
And as you can see there from that clip, very, very humorous moments. But as I said, growing up in the 80s, I was born in 77, so Star Wars was a huge part of all of our lives, those of us who are Gen X and beyond that, because now they've introduced them to the millennials and the Z-lennials and whatever. Now moving on, before we get to our next topic, which is shrinkflation, We have talked about this. It has been a topic that was covered, like I said, on Shifty Sunday. But Sandy Diva, God bless her heart, she sort of likes to overanalyze things and kind of set way too many samples. And that's great. I mean, no offense to her whatsoever. But for a show like this, which I'm wanting to do like an hour, maybe an hour 30 minutes long of a show, we're going to condense that, and actually I'm going to show you some examples. One of the examples, and I'm going to go to a different screen here, is a can of Pringles. When you look at the Pringles and you look at the ounces size and you can compare them, I'm just getting on my laptop here to show you, you can see. Let's take a look at some of these samples.
Tip like hair doesn't weigh anything.
We're going to
Well,
get to that
it
too.
weighs something, but I mean, not for this amount.
All right, let's go.
You know what I meant. You know.
I do. All right, so here are 2 bags of Doritos. It's not on my screen yet, so I can't see the numbers. Okay, so 9.25 ounces, price as 9.75 ounces. And the bags are the same size. So this is Target. The bags are the same size, but they took out 300 milliliters. The one on the right is the new one at 275 milliliters. At the top in the red bar, it's telling you you're getting an extra 25 milliliters. You're not. You've lost 25 milliliters.
Mm-hmm.
That's a flat out lie.
Yeah.
Next one. Pringles. Now, they made the can taller. They made the chips smaller. Look at the size of the chips.
What?
Look how big the cans were.
Yeah.
Don't forget what our stuff used to look like.
Holy cow.
The chips are tiny compared to the way they used to be.
Yeah. They're like half the size.
Mm-hmm. And what did they do? Totally change the design of the logo to distract you.
It's
You
just
see, you see how like on the left there's like that yellow burst. There's some glitter. There's design, and on the right it looks very like it's all flat.
It's plain.
It's to make it look bigger than it is.
Mm.
If they put all those designs, it would look even smaller. Paper towels. They're like how Bounty used to be.
Mm. I'll tell you what's a good brand around here.
And as you can see, it does exist. There is shrinkflation. And this problem is never going to go away. And it all starts from the domino effect. I mean, we could go all the way back to 2020 after the election. Or should I say 2021 would be more accurate. The minute Joe Biden got into office, let me take a sip of tea here. But anyway, the minute Joe Biden got into office, he signed several papers of legislation. And one of those legislations was to stop the Keystone Pipeline. And for those of you that don't know, Keystone Pipeline is one of the major pipelines that transported oil from the offshore oil rigs into the United States. And President Trump while he was in office, reopened a lot of these offshore drilling. And he revitalized the economy. He reopened the offshore drilling. He revitalized the oil industry itself. He tried to get us away from depending on foreign oil. He tried to get us away from depending on foreign coal. He tried to get us away from relying on outsourcing, period, of any kind. And then Joe Biden, out of spite, the minute he gets into office, what does he do? The two major things that he did was he signed the legislation shutting down those pipelines. The other major thing, which we'll get into maybe in another show, was to stop the building of the border wall. And now, as you know, we have a major border crisis. There are all these Haitians that are getting into the country. They're eating animals off of the street. It's been proven they ate ducks, off of the street. It is getting crazy. And it's not just thousands, but millions and millions. And I'm getting a little off track here. So we covered shrinkflation. Here's a few more examples of shrinkflation and how exactly it's getting to you. So he cuts off the oil supply. Well, let's show those examples first. Let's take a look. Now that we've seen those examples, what you have to understand is it takes gas, it takes oil for the trucking industry to ship all these wonderful, beautiful products that we love so much and that we rely on and depend on for everyday living, like groceries and cleaning supplies and medical supplies and stuff like that. And the trucking companies and the shipping companies, the boats, what's the word I'm trying to think of here? Anyway, they require gas, they require oil. Well, it's kind of hard to keep prices low and give you the same quality and the same quantity and without making cuts somewhere. Now, a lot of these companies have cut employees. They've cut corners. They've cut a lot of corners. But mostly they've cut the sizes and the amounts that you're going to get in your food packages, and quite frankly, a lot of them are not honest with their cutting. It'd be one thing if they came out and said, "Oh yeah, you're going to get a lot less, but we're dealing with inflation at measurable amounts, as I'm sure you're well aware. We apologize for this inconvenience. You're getting a little bit less. We are charging the same amount." And maybe they could do stuff like issue coupons, issue discounts every great once in a while and stuff like that, is a way of saying to the American public, hey, you know what? This isn't really our fault, but we're going to try to make it good with the American public. We're going to try to make it good with the American consumer. So just imagine this, if you will. Imagine if you were buying tomatoes off of me and I was selling tomatoes, and I was giving you, and then all of a sudden my tomato crop one year, for whatever reason, let's say I was selling a company like 1,000 tomatoes, 1,000 a month, let's just say. And then one month I come up short, but I'm still selling you those same tomatoes for the same price. However, I might say something like, "Oh well, you're getting less tomatoes, but these tomatoes are bigger, or these tomatoes have better flavor." It's pretty much the same thing that these companies are doing. And that's what's going on with shrinkflation. Take a sip of my tea here. Now, I was going to sit here and talk about football team names. Because I was sitting outside, I was smoking a cigarette, and everybody knows I live right behind a football field. There's a football field in my backyard. It looks like some stuff showing here. Sorry about that. But anyway, and I was thinking about the name Indians. We still have a team called the Indians. But how many years is that going to last with the way God bless my brain, I can't think here, with the way political correctness is going in today's world? I mean, you see it everywhere you go. There have been professional football teams that have changed their names without even the people who they so-called offended saying anything. It's not the people, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not the nationality or the race that's actually offended by all these things. You know, calling your team Redskins or Indians or what not have you. It's white people who are offended for people of color. I mean, it's that quite simple. I mean, when you see this, and I was thinking about this the other day, when you think about racist groups like the KKK and skinheads and what not have you, the Proud Boys, you think about, you know, all this stuff is coming to you out in the open. All the stuff that the left is doing, they're doing out in the open. And I'm not saying that this stuff is coming from racist groups. But what I'm saying is, this is just something that I've come up with, top of my head. It's a theory. Call it a conspiracy theory, if you will. But think about this. In the last few years, you have stuff like, you know, they removed Aunt Jemima off of pancake syrup. They erased that woman, which is a real woman. They erased her from history completely. And actually, the family is upset. There was an article. Do you want to get that? Let's put that article up there about Aunt Jemima's relatives being upset about this. Article. In this article, which took place in, let's see, does it show the year? 2020, June 20th. The great-grandson of a woman who played the Aunt Jemima character for nearly 20 years said he was angry with Quaker Oats. Interesting. that Aunt Jemima comes from the Quaker Oats Company. I thought it was another company called the Pearl Mill Company. It's interesting because Quaker Oats is still on the Quaker Oats mascot still on the label. Decision to change its logo and name on its pancake mix and syrup. Larnell Evans Sr.'s great-grandmother, Anna Short Harrington, portrayed the Aunt Jemima character from 1935 to 1954. The Syracuse Post Standard reported on Wednesday Chicago-based Quaker Foods announced it would eliminate the Aunt Jemima brands in response to the civil unrest. What civil unrest? Oh, are they talking about the riots? Oh, of course. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Their so-called, you mean their so-called peaceful protesting? Ridiculous. Simply ridiculous. So there you have this article. The family is currently upset by it. So not only did you have her removed off of pancake syrup, but you had Uncle Ben removed off of rice. You had the Native American Indian girl removed off of what was the name of that butter? I can't think of it right now. But anyway, my point is, all of these people of color are being removed from brand names, and yet you go to the store, what do you see? Quaker Oats guy is still on his box. The the other guy, he's still on his box, right? The what's her name? She's still on her box. Mr. Clean, that's another one. Mr. Clean, a white guy, and he's a fictional character, but he was modeled after a real person. Quaker Oats guy, probably another fictional character, modeled after a real person. Guess what? They weren't taken off the brands. So when you think about it, you think about, where has the KKK been the last few years? I mean, yeah, sure, you may see them in articles here and there. They might interrupt a parade now and again, but not really. Really, you don't see them. They're not active. They're not out there doing stuff, not out in the open, not out in the public eye. Not that I've been seeing. Have you read a recent article of anything happening from any racist? You hear people say all the time, well, the Proud Boys, I guess, would be the newest example. But you hear people all the time speak of, this is racist, that's being racist. But they don't even know. They're not even on the edge of real racism. Because real racism is not just someone using words. It's not just someone having privilege, as they will like to tell you. It's not just someone, carrying a rebel flag, which, by the way, I could do a whole show on that nonsense. But the stuff that they used to do back in the early days, going way back to the early, like, 1800s, the early 1900s, before the Civil War, even after the Civil War, the 1950s, 1960s, as recent as the 1980s, there was some true racism going on back then in those days. I can tell you right now. So, without going into any detail, there was some really, like, I can remember back in my day, like, really horrific stuff that happened. Not just to black people or people of color, but to the Irish, the Italians, you know, other groups of people in this country. They have been doing stuff to groups of people in this country for hundreds of years or more. And the thing about it is, their whole attention now, the whole focus is divide and conquer. What have you seen recently with the whole restroom issue? We've been segregated by bathrooms. We've been segregated by pronouns. We've been segregated by straight up color. And then you see it on college campuses. They're fighting for people of color water fountains only, people of color bathrooms only, people of color clubs that they've started that white people are not allowed. And then you see all these videos on the internet trashing white people, and white people are the only group of people that you're allowed to make fun of. They're the only group of people that you're allowed to talk bad and nasty and spiteful, mean, hateful things to. But yet, that's not racism. It's not racist if you do it to a white person. I mean, honestly, when I sit back and I think about all this stuff, is it too far-fetched for me to sit there and think, is this the KKK and other racist groups working in cloak and dagger, you know, behind closed doors, behind, you know, and there's been, it's not like this is too far-fetched of an idea, because if you look up the Black Lives Matter movement, and you look at the alphabet community, and you look at who started or who sponsors these groups, it's not people of color. People. I'm telling you that right now. It is, in fact, anti people of color. It's racist groups. It's people who have, you know, where do you think they're getting money from? Where do you think they're getting the funding for the marches? It's the KKK, it's the skinheads, it's the neo-Nazis. That whole movement is coming forward and under cloak and dagger, and it's under the cloak and dagger of wokeness, and people aren't seeing it. They don't see the divide and conquer strategy that they're using. They destroyed entire towns last summer or 2 summers ago, and you know, they destroyed entire towns, and yet the left referred to all of that as peaceful protesting. And you don't think somehow that these groups are behind this? And I'll tell you what turned me off to the left completely, the Democrats in general, where after the George Floyd incident occurred, and then they went to the whatever place that was where Black Lives Matter had like this mural or whatever, and it was the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, and Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, and they all got down on their knees. They all got down on one knee and put their head down in shame, as though they were basically in solidarity. They were denouncing their whiteness. And at that moment, I thought, this is blasphemous. This is blasphemous against God. Because God's the only, in my opinion, the only thing you should get down on your knees for is to pray to God. These people worship the golden calf right in front of our very eyes. And but people support this. It happens right in front of their face. Christians and atheists and whatever, all people alike, in solidarity. I know I'm not saying that word correctly. They all support this. But I'm telling you, it's not from the woke. There is something very wrong, very sinister, very cloak and dagger going on here. And this ain't it. But anyway, on to our last topic of tonight that I'm going to get into. And then that will end the first ever Let's Be Frank show, or maybe I'll call it the Being Frank show, I don't know. Tonight, political debate. Donald Trump, Kamala Harris. It's going to be one for the, even if it's horrible. Do you understand? Even if it's horrible. You know, even if Trump doesn't do well, I mean, I think absolutely he's going to do 100%. Now, is she going to do horrible? Not if she's got someone speaking to her ear. If she's got someone speaking to her ear, giving her the answers, and if the broadcast was this on NBC or something, if NBC gives her softballs, which I think that they will, then of course she's going to do good. But if NBC does to her what all the other networks, what CNN did, and gives her passes on questions, but see, I don't think that's going to happen, because now she has to answer to him, and he's not going to let things like that slide. He's not going to let them softball her, because they're not going to softball him. I guarantee you that. These are going to be some tough questions, and he's going to either be able to answer them, or he's going to go into a long-winded discussion about something kind of similar to the topic while still being on topic, but somehow being off topic, if you know what I mean. Let's see if she can handle something like that. I don't think she would be able to. I think she would crumble and fold like this here piece of paper. Just like that. That looked like it froze in time. Anyway, that does it for the show. I'm glad you joined me. watch the debates tonight, 8 o'clock Central, or is it 8:30 Central? I think it's 8 Central. And until next time, let's make this a catchphrase, because I've always been a huge fan of G.I. Joe, a real American hero. Until next time, remember, knowing isn't just half the battle, it's the whole damn war. We'll see you next time on the Jeremy Orr Show with Frank Talk. Good night, everybody.
Hebrew77 here, and welcome to a brand new YouTube channel. This is The Herd.